Hey guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue on with our read-along of Urha. Let's begin. So, chapter 34, this venerable one falls out of favor. Only Chuaning could say something so earth-shatteringly astonishing like that in such a matter-of-factly calm manner. The three disciples each had their own thoughts on the matter. Shui Meng's were the simplest, just a single exclamation, "Ah!" Moran's were a little more complicated as he stroked his chin with a hand and recalled some certain things from the previous lifetime. He thought that he definitely never wants to see Chuaning's third weapon in his lifetime. As for Shunmei, he tilted his head, a faint light flickering in that pair of hazy peach blossom eyes, as if in reverence or fascination. "Did you get Tianwen from Jincheng Lake?" Chuaning. Then the other two? Chuaning. One was also from here, but not the other. Weapon temperaments don't tend to be too fierce, so it should be manageable. There is no need to worry. Shui Meng sighed with admiration. "Wish I could see Shizun's other holy weapons too." Chuaning said, "Tianwen is more than enough for most purposes. As for the other two, it would be best if I never have to use them." Shui Meng reluctantly made a noise of agreement, but a light still danced in his eyes. Chuaning noticed. He knew that Shui Meng was combative by nature, and that such things were not so easily suppressed, but luckily, his heart was in the right place, so with some guidance, there should be little reason for concern. Moran, standing to the side, was still stroking his chin, expression smiling yet not. The purpose of a weapon was to take the life of another. A righteous man would only resort to such if there were truly no other option. Chuaning, be it this life or the last, this righteousness of his will be his downfall. All that bullshit about justice always triumphing over evil was just words in books, but this idiot insisted on taking that stuff seriously. For all his exceptional talent and martial prowess, it served him right to end up as a mere prisoner beneath the steps, bones in the dirt. "Shizun." Shimei's voice cut off his musing. "This disciple heard that hundreds, if not thousands, climb Dawning Peak every year in search of a weapon, but only one or two are able to thaw out Jincheng Lake. On top of that, no one has managed to at all in the last few years. This disciple's cultivation is weak. There really isn't any chance at all. Aran and the young master are both outstanding. But maybe I should just stay behind and practice my basics." Chuaning, ... He did not speak, face like fine porcelain layered with a faint mist, as if deep in thought. In the last life, Shunmei also turned down the chance to go to Dawning Peak due to low self-confidence. Seeing this, Moran immediately put on a grin. "There's no harm in trying. Even if it doesn't work out, just think of it as taking a trip. Better than staying cooped up at Shisheng Peak all day. Why not go out and see the world instead?" Shunmei only became even more nervous. "No, but I really am too weak. And there are so many people at Dawning Peak. If disciples from another sect challenge me to a fight, I'll definitely lose and embarrass Shizun." Chuaning lifted his eyes. "Is that what you are afraid of?" The words were strange, as if questioning, yet also as if merely rhetorical. The other two didn't sense anything off, but Shunmei felt a creeping chill in his heart, and when he looked up, his eyes met Chuaning's cold, biting gaze. "Shizun." Chuaning's expression remained still as he spoke. "You specialize in healing. Fights are not your forte to begin with. If someone bothers you about it, simply refuse. There's no shame in that." Moran grinned. "Don't worry, Shunmei, you have me." And so, the three of them packed for the trip and set off. The destination this time was quite far, all the way in the upper cultivation realm. Riding horses there would be too exhausting, and Chuaning still didn't want to travel by sword, so they went by carriage at a relaxed pace for more than 10 days, before finally arriving at a city by the foot of Dawning Peak. The three disciples had already climbed out of the carriage, but Chuaning still didn't feel like moving just yet. He lifted up the carriage's bamboo screen and said, "We'll stay the night here, a little more traveling tomorrow, and we'll be at Dawning Peak." Their rest stop was called Dai City, not an overly large city, but affluent and bustling. The women wore silks and jades, and the men were dressed in expensive brocades. It was easily more opulent than even the richest locals of the lower cultivation realm. Shui Meng clicked his tongue. Look at these old upper cultivation realm mutts, the scent of meat and wine wafting out of the doors of the rich, while the poor starve and freeze to death in the streets. Moran disliked it as well, and so didn't quibble with Shuemeng for once. Instead, he made fun of the scene before him with a sweet smile on his face. No kidding, I'm so jealous. No wonder so many people are so desperate to move to the upper cultivation realm. Even being a common person and not a cultivator here is still a much better life than down there. Chuaning took out and donned a silver mask before leisurely getting out of the carriage. He looked around at the hustle and bustle, thinking about something or another. Shuemeng was puzzled. Why is Shizun wearing a mask? Chuaning replied, "This is Lin Yi Rufengsek's area. It's best if I don't show my face here." Seeing the lingering confusion in Shuemeng's expression, Moran sighed. The little phoenix must have left his head back home, to forget that Shizun used to be Lin Yi Rufengsek's guest master. His words jolted Shuemeng's memory, but the darling of the heavens wasn't about to admit that he really did forget. So, face red, he rolled his eyes instead. Of course I knew that! But Shizun was only a guest master there. It's not like they bought him or anything. There's no reason he can't just up and leave. Even if the Rufengsek people do see him, what are they gonna do, drag him back? Moran said, "You blockhead, have you seriously never heard? Ever since Shizun left Rufengsek, basically no one from the upper cultivation realm even knows where he went. Whenever we get asked who we're apprenticed under while out on exorcism missions, haven't we always just said Shisheng Peak without specifying our teacher?" Shuemeng was taken aback for a moment before comprehension dawned on him. Oh, so Shizun's whereabouts is a secret here? But Shizun is so strong, why the need to hide? It's not that I'm carefully hiding, I just don't want to be bothered. Chuaning said, "Let's go find an inn." "Welcome, will the good sirs be staying with us?" The inn's attendant jogged over, greasy face gleaming. Shuemeng said, 4 rooms. The attendant forced a smile while twisting his hands. "So sorry, sir. All the inns in the city have been pretty full recently, so I'm afraid we don't have 4 rooms to spare. Would the good sirs be okay with 2? There's nothing to be done about it. They'll just have to share. But a small problem came up when it came to assigning rooms. Let's see what happens. "I'm gonna room with Shimei," Moran stated firmly where the 3 disciples were gathered while Chuaning paid the bill. Shuemeng wasn't having it. "Like hell you are!" Moran feigned shock. "Eh? I thought you liked sticking to Shizun." That doesn't mean I want to..." He felt the utmost respect for Chuaning, but he was also afraid of him. Truth be told, even he couldn't say if he felt more adoration or fear toward the man. Looking at Shuemeng's reddened face, Moran grinned smugly. "Little bro, why do I get the feeling that it's not that you don't want to sleep with Shizun, but that you're too scared to?" Shuemeng's eyes were round as orbs. "It's not like Shizun's gonna eat me. Why would I be scared?" Oh. Moran's shit-eating grin only widened. "But Shizun hits people in his sleep. Did you know that?" Shuemeng... ... Shuemeng stammered, face going from pale to blue and back again, before he suddenly realized something and shot back in a rage. "How do you know what Shizun's like in his sleep? Have you slept with him before?" "Yeah, Moran." "Have you slept with him before?" That was a bit ambiguous, even though Shuemeng definitely didn't mean it that way. Moran sneered to himself. Not only had this venerable one slept with him before, this venerable one had slept with him before. Wink, wink. But real men don't flaunt past conquests, so he only continued grinning. "If you don't believe me, go ahead and see for yourself tonight. Oh yeah, don't forget to bring a bottle of salve, you're gonna need it." Shuemeng was just about to rage when Chuaning finished paying and came over. He glanced mildly at them and said, "Let's go." The 3 youths followed Shizun upstairs like 3 little tails. Standing in front of the rooms, all 3 of them looked down meekly and waited for Chuaning to speak, despite the bickering just now. Their bickering didn't actually carry any weight at all. When it came time to actually assign the rooms, they all shut up and waited for Chuaning to decide. Chuaning paused before saying, "There are only 2 rooms. Which of you?" He hesitated, feeling a little self-conscious. How to say, "Which of you wants to be with me?" It sounds a bit cautious and pitiful even to him, far too unbefitting of Yu Heng Elder's style. How should he say it then? "Moe Yu, you're coming with me." Like that? Forget it. Add a spice cub and a tiger pelt and he'd be no different from some shady bandit stealing a family's young daughter. He was a respected cultivation master. He had to save his face. Besides, ever since that one night at Redlow's Pavilion, Both of them felt awkward and avoided being alone together. Chuanning's face remained impassive, but 1,000 thoughts barreled through his mind. A good while passed before him, calm and collected, lifted his chin, and nodded slightly towards Shuemeng. Shuemeng will room with me. Shuemeng, ... He's scared. Moran's smile dropped off his face, dumbfounded. Moran's surprised too. He did indeed hope for Shuemeng to be with Chuanning so that he could be with Shimei, but to hear this choice come out of Chuanning's mouth somehow made him feel irate. He was utterly unaware of this, but he was just like a stray pup that didn't know how tall the sky was. The stray pup met a man. That person wasn't exactly the nicest to him, but would at least toss him some bone to gnaw on for each meal of the day. But the stray pup disliked this mean guy. He chewed the bone and, when done, would only lick his paw and bark endlessly at him. He didn't see this guy as his owner at all. For some reason, unknown to the pup, one day when this man came out with a bowl in hand, it no longer held the bone he was familiar with, but millet seeds instead. A beautiful bird with bright plumage flew down and perched on his shoulder, beady eyes staring at him as it rubbed its beak affectionately against his cheek. The man turned to look to the side, patted the bird while patiently feeding it. The stray pup was dumbfounded. After all, he was so certain that Chuanning would choose himself. He's so full of himself, oh my gosh. What a dumb husky. Oh wow, that was a short chapter. Author's notes. Dogs who are too spoiled will fall out of favor. Owner doesn't want you anymore. Owner now prefers to keep birds. Hey, hey, hey. Owner would rather play with birds than you. Go cry. Yeah, Moran's gonna get a taste of his own medicine. And it's like, he didn't want Chuanning to choose him, right? So he shouldn't be jealous now, huh? Okay, let's move on to chapter 35. This venerable one slips. That night, Moran stared at the wall, cheek in hand. On the other side of the wall was Chuanning and Shuemeng's room. Shimei liked cleanliness, and so he had left a change of clothes folded neatly on the bed and gone downstairs to ask the attendant to bring up hot water for bathing. The walls of the inn weren't very soundproof. In the quiet, he could faintly hear the sounds from the adjacent room. Chuanning seemed to have said something. He couldn't hear clearly, but he heard Shuemeng's voice loud and clear. Seems a little tight. Moran's ears stood up like a dog's, wiggling a little. Across the wall, the little phoenix said, Shizun, does it hurt? ... It's fine. You can keep going. I'll be gentle. Let me know if it hurts. You talk too much. Do it or don't. Moran's eyes widened in alarm. Huh? Surely there was no way, no how between these two, but what kind of exchange was this? What are they doing? The pup's ears were practically pressed against the wall. There was the faint sound of clothes rustling, and if he strained, he could hear Chuanning's stifled groans. He had heard Chuanning make this kind of sound in bed countless times before. That Shizun of his didn't like to make any noise when it felt really good or really painful, always biting down hard on his lower lip as unshed tears gathered in his eyes. At that time, all he had to do was push just a little bit harder to rip soft pants of breaths from his throat. Wait, Chuanning's voice was low and rough. Don't touch there. Alright, Shuemeng hesitated, then said in a small voice, Then Shizun will do it himself? Where? What nonsense is this? Don't touch where? Do what himself? Just what are they doing? Moran's entire face darkened. By the time he realized what he was doing, he had already knocked on the neighboring door. A flurry of rushing noises came from inside. Pup's expression grew even darker. He raised his voice. Shizun, what are you? The door opened with a creak. Shuemeng stood there, fully dressed, hand still holding a piece of blood-stained gauze. He narrowed his eyes as he glared at Moran with puzzlement. What are you doing, making such a ruckus this late at night? Trip over a ghost or something? Moran's mouth opened, then closed stupidly. He glanced past Shuemeng to where Chuanning sat by the table with medicinal salve and fresh bandages on it. What were you guys? Shuemeng continued glaring. Applying medicine, of course. Shizun's shoulder injury hasn't healed yet. The dressing hasn't been changed for a few days, and some of the wounds got infected again. Moran, ... He asked dumbly, Then, what was too tight? Too tight? Shuemeng thought for a while, brows drawn together. Oh, the bandages. They were wrapped too tightly before. Some bits got stuck to the wounds with blood and almost wouldn't come off. He stopped talking suddenly and glanced at Moran with suspicion. You were eavesdropping? Moran rolled his eyes and scrambled to save his sorry face. Who's eavesdropping? The walls here are so thin you can't even hear breathing sounds if you lean against them. Go see for yourself if you don't believe me. Oh, really? Shuemeng nodded, but then a moment later felt like something was off. Wait, how do you know that? Were you leaning against the wall to listen? Moran, ... caught red-handed. Shuemeng angrily. Moe, you are such a freak! Moran, just as angry. Who knows what beastly things you might do to Shizun? Listen, the only person doing beastly things to Shizun is Moran. We all know that. Shuemeng was a pure person who knew nothing of such matters. He had no idea what Moran was even talking about. So he only got angrier. What nonsense are you yapping about? And turned to complain. Shizun, he... Chuaning put on his outer robe, holding it closed with one hand while straightening out his hair with the other, as he calmly walked over and glanced Moran up and down. Did you need something? I heard... Moran fumbled for words. That stuff, so I thought Shuemeng was bullying you. What? Chuaning didn't understand at all, eyes narrowing. Who's bullying me? Moran wanted to slap himself. They were in the middle of staring awkwardly at one another when Shimei came upstairs. Aran, what are you doing outside Shizun's room? Moran stammered. There was a misunderstanding. Shimei smiled. Well, has it been resolved? Yeah, Moran said hurriedly. Shimei, didn't you go ask the attendant for hot water? Shizun probably hasn't bathed yet either. I'll go ask them to bring extra. Shimei said, no need. He took out 4 bamboo tablets, smiling. The attendant said there's a natural hot spring by the inn, which the innkeeper built into a bath. These tablets are passes. I got one for everyone. Moran thought that he, a cut sleeve, probably shouldn't go soak in the hot spring with the other 3. Shuemeng was whatever. Shimei was pure and divine in his eyes, and he dared not even think about dirty thoughts about him. But Chuaning, he was well aware from the couple times of close contact they had since his rebirth that he'd probably lose his mind if he saw that person undress. Moran covered his face with a hand. I'll pass. Shuemeng shocked. You don't bathe before bed? Gross! Moran said, I'll ask the attendant to send some hot water up. Shimei was baffled. They don't boil hot water here, since all the guests go to the hot spring. Moran, ... He shot himself in the foot. Having no other choice, Moran could only grab a change of clothes and go to the hot spring with everyone else. This inn was pretty diligent at currying favor. It knew well that most people who come to stay are cultivators headed to Jincheng Lake hopeful for a weapon, and so named the bath Daybreak's Reflection in Jincheng to invite some luck. Moran was scared stiff of losing his senses, and dared not even touch the other 2. He changed in a rush, wrapping the towel tightly around his waist, and ran off by himself to the hot spring first to find a secluded spot. It was already rather late, so there weren't many people in the bath, and the ones who were there were scattered distantly. With the square of white towel on the top of his head, Moran sank into the water, leaving only half his face above, and let out a breath. Glue, 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 blowing bubbles. The first person to finish changing strode out with long bare legs. Moran snuck a glance and let out a sigh of relief. Thank the gods, it was only Shuemeng. Shue Gongzi may be handsome, but he wasn't Ta Xianjun's type no matter how you cut it. Their gazes met, and Shuemeng pointed at him. You stay away from me. What gives? You're dirty. Moran, hehe. The bath was misty and with water vapor. After a while, Shuemeng paused in the middle of scrubbing himself to call out, Shizun, over here! Moran, with half his face underwater, nearly choked. He knew damn well that he shouldn't look, but his gaze still couldn't help wandering over. That single glance nearly killed him. He was so startled that he swallowed 2 whole mouthfuls of bathwater and didn't even have time to be grossed out, hurrying instead to sink even deeper into the water until only his eyes were above the water. He totally didn't expect Chuaning and Shimei to come out together. Shimei was slender and softly beautiful, with long ink-black hair draped over his shoulders and wrapped in a towel. By all rights, Moran should have wanted to sneak a look at him the most, but his glance darted quickly past him. He truly respected Shimei like the bright moon above, and dared not stare at him in public. Chuaning, on the other hand, was tall and coldly handsome, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, toned body and firm skin. He had his hair up in a high ponytail and wore a large white bathrobe that covered his whole body, except for the front where it was too wide to be pulled close and revealed a large expanse of smooth, firm chest. Staring at him, Moran felt like he was going to suffocate and boil in the water. He wanted to look away, but his traitorous eyes refused to listen, and his gaze fixed itself there without moving even the slightest bit. His ears slowly turned red. Across the heavy mist, Chuaning seemed to have glanced at him, or perhaps not. He put a layer of waterproofing barrier over his bandages and stepped into the water. His legs could be seen between the floating robes, long and slender, balanced with tight contours. Moran is really thirsty right now. He really couldn't take any more, closing his eyes and sinking all the way into the water. Even covered by the towel wrapped around his waist, his reaction was really too... Moran felt extremely wronged. He really didn't like Chuaning. He truly hated Chuaning. But his body remembered their fervent lovemaking. Those frenzied intertwinements that could take even bones of steel into tenderness, and all of the absurd things between the two of them that made his face redden and his heart race. The jet of his throat bobbed as a celestial war raged within. Moran was really about to cry. It was the first time in his life that he loathed himself so. Why was he like this? Shimei was right there. What the F was he doing losing his damn mind over Chuaning? No matter how, even if they had pressed together skin to skin as they entwined in the previous life, all of that was in the past. No matter how hung up he was over Chuaning's body, how could he do this to Shimei? This was too disrespectful to him. He deserved better. Moran lowered his head and focused on dispelling those wicked thoughts for quite a while before finally managing to suppress the fire in his abdomen. He burst out of the water and shook off the droplets, wiped his face with the towel, and opened his watery eyes, and came face to face with Chuaning. Even worse, the water he had just shaken off all splashed right onto Chuaning's face. He watched as a droplet leisurely made its way down into his dark, sharp black eyebrow, and then slowly slid lower, nearly about to get into that beautiful phoenix eye. Chuaning, ... Moran, ... This was truly the worst. He couldn't see the surroundings earlier when he was submerged underwater holding his breath. Chuaning also had no idea Moran was under the water here, and was just minding his own business, coming over here to fetch the box of fragrance bars. He didn't even get to the box before he got splashed with a face full of water. The hot spring was quite deep, the buoyancy of the water strong. Moran, head swimming, tried to back away, but ended up slipping and falling right into Chuaning's arms instead. Oh, how embarrassing! Ah! ... Author's notes. Today's mini-theater, The World in Your Ear is different from mine. Phoenix Chick, aka Shuemeng, seems a little tight. Little pup, Moran. Phoenix Chick, Shizun, does it hurt? Big white kitty Shizun, it's fine, you can keep going. Phoenix Chick, I'll be gentle, let me know if it hurts. Big white kitty, you talk too much, do it or don't. Little puff, arf arf arf, what are you doing? Angry, arf arf arf. Phoenix Chick, ah? I'm massaging Shizun's shoulders. Little pup, then a little tight means... Phoenix Chick, tighten the shoulder muscles. What did you think it was? Little pup. ... Many years later. Handsome and mighty dumb husky. Does this kind of a creature exist? Seems a little tight. Phoenix Chick. Dumb husky. Shizun, does it hurt? Big white kitty. It's fine. You can keep going. Dumb husky. I'll be gentle. Let me know if it hurts. Big white kitty. You talk too much. Do it or don't. Phoenix Chick, pondering by the door for a moment, concluded the dumb husky must have been massaging Shizun's shoulders. Oh, the innocent Shuemeng. Sigh, idiot husky has so much strength in his hands. The little phoenix rolled his eyes and thought, it was just a shoulder massage. Shizun's voice sounded a bit hoarse. 1-star review. He shook his feathers and walked away, and did not realize he missed an opportunity to become a heroic bird. Shrugged. So they're saying he could have saved Shizun from Moran's bullying. Okay. So, that was the end of chapter 35, and in that chapter, Moran, got to hear... Wait, actually, the first chapter was so short that now I'm kind of like... Oh, now I went too back. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, okay, so to recap, in chapter 34, wait, did I not summarize chapter 34? Okay, in chapter 34, Chuan-ning and his disciples decide to stay at an inn and rest, and there's only 2 rooms available. So Moran is thinking, I don't want to get chosen by Shizun. And so then Shizun chooses Shuemeng because he's embarrassed about staying in a room with Moran. And then Moran has that surprise Pikachu face because he didn't actually expect Shizun to not choose him, and he got jealous. And then he ends up plastering his ear next to the wall to listen in on Shuemeng and Shizun's conversation, and he hears something that sounds really ambiguous. So he thinks that Shuemeng is bullying Chuan-ning. So he burst through the door. Well, he didn't really burst through, but like kinda, right? And he finds out that Shuemeng was just helping Chuan-ning change his bandages. So the dumb husky embarrassed himself. Then they decided to go and take a bath at the hot springs. And even though Moran claims to hate Chuan-ning, he is really thirsty for Chuan-ning's body and can't seem to contain himself or hold himself back when he sees Shizun's, naked glory. So he's like trying to distance himself in the hot spring, but he ends up accidentally bumping straight into Chuan-ning because he was under the water. He's always embarrassing himself. I can't. I guess I can have embarrassment from Moran sometimes. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's read-along, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!